How do you respond to stress? A good response is letting it motivate you, getting strength from it, solving problems. A bad response is knocking back shots at a local bar and ending up curled in a ball, gently sobbing on the floor of your office. In this video, I'm going to show you my extremely reliable, all-purpose, 3-step plan for dealing with stress. Now, as a bit of background, I've got a medical degree and a master's in psychological medicine, and I've been teaching this stress handling approach to my clients for the last 15 years. If a client attends a session and they're stressed out and not dealing with it, these are the 3 simple steps I work through with them. It's based on the principles of cognitive behavioral therapy with a few twists that I've added based on my experience with clients. So let's get into it. Step 1. I have a client who would always show up to sessions in a frantic state, constantly describing the stress in her life. It's been chaos this week, is what she would say. And I always used to feel bad for her because it was hard to make progress in our sessions when she was feeling so stressed. And the stress was understandable when life was so chaotic. But over time, it became clear that the chaos was every single week. Like literally every week she would turn up and say, "It's been chaos this week." And it wasn't random. When something is happening every week, it becomes less about the chaos and more about the client. My client was creating the perfect conditions for chaos by her own actions. So for example, she would overcommit to responsibilities. She had a very, very busy schedule. There was no free time, but then she went and volunteered for the PTA. She wouldn't get any help, even in her business or even at home. And she would plan her day in a way that meant it was almost physically impossible. So she was meant to be in 2 places at a time, constantly during the day. So this wasn't random stress. My client had created this stress. It was carefully cultivated over time. So when I'm working with a client who is stressed, step 1 of this 3-step approach is to A, solve the stressor itself, if you can, and B, if there are things that the client is doing that make the stress worse, then we make changes to these. So for example, with this client, it was more about stopping volunteering for every single thing that came up, getting more help delegating, and having more realistic timing of events in her day. But sometimes you can't change the stressor and you can't change the things that contribute to stress. So what do you do next? It's step 2. Step 2. Imagine 2 business owners, and business is really bad at the moment. And business owner 1 says, "This is the end. My business is failing." And business owner 2 says, "This is a wake-up call. There are things I need to improve." Same situation, completely different interpretations. One is spiraling out of control. The other is using it as a chance to grow. In CBT, or cognitive behavioral therapy, this is called cognitive restructuring or reframing. You can't always control the stressors, but you can control how you think about them. And if your thinking makes you more positive and solution-focused, you're more likely to find a way out. So far, 3 steps. We've got step 1, reduce the stressors. Step 2, reframe the stressor. But what do you do if neither of these work? And the answer is step 3. Step 3, let's go back to our 2 business owners. Both get home after a very stressful day at work. And business owner 1, to respond to this stress, they have a bottle of wine, they have lots and lots of snacks, they stay up late scrolling on their phone, and then they spend all day in bed because they want to avoid work. Business owner 2, on the other hand, does some exercise, does some meditation, gets an early night, talks through the situation with Dr. K, that's me. And the result is business owner 1, more stressed, exhausted, they're out of shape, and their business is going downhill. Whereas business owner 2, more relaxed, focused, they're in shape, they have more energy, and they're proactive and doing things that are making their business grow. And here's the important point. The way you respond to stress is really important because many people choose ways to deal with stress that actually make the stress worse, not better. And remember, when you get stressed, you fall back onto your habits. So if you consciously create good habits, you will naturally do the right things even when you're stressed. I always encourage clients to create habits that form part of a long-term resilience routine. So now let's go through an example that will show you how to apply this 3-step stress plan reduce stress, reframe stress, respond better to stress. So imagine a business owner. His name is Jeff, and Jeff is stressed. Why is he stressed? Because he doesn't have enough leads, and I'm sure a lot of business owners can identify with that. So if Jeff were my client, we'd do step 1, reduce stress. Why are there no leads? Well, it turns out that Jeff is procrastinating on taking the steps that he needs to take to get new leads, and so part of our action plan would be to create those habits to make taking action easier. Secondly, Jeff feels like there's no time to do all the things he needs to do, so part of our plan is to manage time so that we can find that time. Second step, if Jeff were my client, we'd reframe the stress. So rather than my business is dying, my life has come to naught, we'd stop all the Shakespearean drama and we'd focus on this is an opportunity to find new lead generation channels. And it is an opportunity. And third step, if Jeff were my client, would be the response to stress. So finding different responses. So Jeff may have been using food and alcohol. Instead, we'd focus on regular exercise, having a shutdown ritual so there's a clear line between work and play, and sleep hygiene to ensure that he gets a good night's sleep. If Jeff even partially follows these 3 steps, his stress will not only be reduced, but he will be more likely to find solutions that will remove his stress. Don't ignore or suppress stress, face it and do something about it. Follow these 3 steps. And if you want to know more about how to apply the lessons from the best-selling book Atomic Habits to your business, click here. And I'll speak with you soon.